What's up? Welcome in on this hump day, February 25th, 2026. False start on the guy who's not smart enough to click the buttons in the right way. I've brought in reinforcements. Well, I mean, I brought in half the reinforcements. I had TJ last night. We got Vegas Mac tonight. We got plenty of stuff going on, including a couple of college basketball scores that I continue. I was on a red-hot goal scorer streak, Mac. I was on hockey goal scorers, and I think we're the gambling gods. They were like, you know what, you can be on this hockey goal scorer streak, but you know what we're going to make you do? We're going to make you freak the hell out on college basketball before we start March Madness, because you're not going to be able to hit a college basketball bet for like a week. And that's where we're at. What is going on, man? I'm used to you on Tuesday and you on Wednesday. My calendar's all jacked up this week. How the hell are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. Yeah, sorry. Things come up and we have to be places sometimes that, it's all good. I got a lot to talk about. I got a few things I think I got to get off my chest. And I heard that this is a safe place to do it. So let's kick it off.
We are always a safe place to do that. Feel free to comment along if you're watching along. We'll get as many of them up on the screen as we can. Again, follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks, including on our new and improved, fancy, even sexier. If you get it, you get it. You've been watching the show. Our Facebook page, make sure you hammer those follow, like, subscribe buttons. They go a hell of a lot farther than you think. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to unpack here, Mac. And I'm gonna get going off the top. We were out a little bit earlier in the day today. It was my first time being out in the wild and seeing a plethora of different team shirts and hats as it pertains to baseball, because spring training is up and moving. It's rolling. I know this is like the beginning of the Christmas season for you. There's a lot of stuff going on in baseball right now. Let's start with this before we get into a lot of this stuff, because it's been hilarious the last couple of days. I love it. I made this comment to T last night. I go, if I'm an MLB umpire right now, I'm going to pull a Fernando Mendoza. I'm getting on LinkedIn. I'm going to try and rebuff my resume, because a lot of this makes me look a lot of this. What have your initial takeaways been from the start of spring training, and what did you think of Connor Griffin yesterday, literally putting baseballs in a different county against your Red Sox?
Yeah, I mean he's going to be a really good player, I think. It's fun to see. That's always that moniker being the best young player. We'll see what Roman Anthony does. I mean, hey, we have to remember Roman Anthony hasn't even played a full season yet. So, I hate to kind of take that moniker away from him yet. But yeah, I mean, he was pretty impressive yesterday. But, like I said, there's a long way to go still. It'd be interesting to see if he even makes the Pirates roster coming out of spring training. So that'll be the first thing. As far as all the calls and whatnot, Mike, it's great. It's different coaches or managers, I should say, have already taken different approaches on this. I heard a really good conversation about, I was listening to one of the Red Sox games, and they were talking about, the strategy behind it. And they talked to Chad Tracy, who is the AAA manager for the Red Sox. Or AA, I think it's AAA, I can't remember, because they've been using it, and it's kind of morphed the last couple of years. And Lou Maloney asked him, he said, is there strategy to like holding one of those, like for a ninth inning kind of thing? And he said, oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. So it's going to be very interesting. Alex Cora wants his guys to kind of use this as much as they can to kind of get adjusted to it. But I think the early indication is, number one, it's going to work. Except for, was it in Chicago? Was it at Sloan Park where they had a little glitch in it. Did you see that? There was like a little glitch, and it took
I
like
think it was one of the Cubs games. Yeah.
yeah. But other than that, it's working. It doesn't take time away from the game. You stay in the rhythm, and umpires need to maybe go back to the school and learn the strike zone because they are going to be exposed like you would not believe. I'm telling you right now. Here's my 2027. If we have baseball, if we have a baseball 2027, here's my prediction. They're going to increase the number of times that this is going to be used. I'm telling you right now. It's going to increase.
See, I've got a bone to pick with it already because I don't like it, and this isn't my original thought, but when I saw it on X yesterday, I totally agreed with it. I'm pretty sure we reposted it on our X page at Mike Arana Show. I don't like the ABS challenge system because I think it's going to rob us as baseball fans of the enjoyment of and everything else that Aaron Boone does because, like, all you got to do is do this, and Aaron Boone just gets to sit in the dugout now, like, yep. Between the Red Sox-Pirates game yesterday, and I can't remember who the Yanks were playing the other day, but, like, we're going to get robbed of some of the classic baseball arguing balls and strikes moments. But I wonder if part of this, because, and you mentioned it, and there is definitely a strategy to it because you only get so many, and if you're wrong, you don't get any more, and
Right.
all that stuff. And we're all still learning it in full form. But, like, I'm wondering how many of these batters and catchers and pitchers, I mean, pitchers shouldn't do it. I can't remember who the hell it was the other day, but he was like, you know what? The pitchers shouldn't do this because they don't know the strike zone. It was hilarious.
It was the Yankees pitch. It was somebody from the Yankees.
Yeah, and it's like, I wonder how much of this in spring training is like, hey, these games don't count. We're all getting in the swing of things. But there's a lot of us that have a lot of bones to pick. The other thing that sucks is that Angel Hernandez is still not umpiring with this going on because I would love that. But I think, and we talked about this last week when they made it official, or a couple weeks ago. They're all kind of blending together as they typically do at this time of the year. But we talked about it, and it's like, I think the thing that makes it so fascinating to me and why I love it so much is the ability in the exact same time for the fans in the ballpark, for the umpires, and for the players and the teams to see it in real time. And I think that is something that cannot be expressed in its proper form. It's great. What do we say all the time? And you brought this up in college football season. The ACC actually let us into the control room. We got to hear what was going on. A lot of times we're sitting here watching football games and going, yeah, we can see this on all the TV angles and the replays. What the hell is taking so damn long? So I think baseball definitely has something here, but it's been hilarious to start spring training.
Yeah, it's been. I was going to say the one thing that probably is going to be missed, and not from a fan's perspective, but from a player's perspective, is, you know, as a catcher, I loved having those conversations with the umpire. You know, the umpire would miss a call, and they would say, you know, hey, Mac, you know what, I missed that one. I got you next time. You know, those little things. Like, but now that, you know, they're not going to have those little conversations because they don't want to know that they miss it. I honestly think it's going to get to a point where it's even going to be a little more automated than that. Like, not so much, and I think we talked about this before, where the umpires are going to get feedback on every pitch. So, like, you know, they may call a strike and they're going to get a little, you know, zip, if you will, little ding that, like, you know, that was really a ball. And I think that's going to help. But I think the other thing that I heard that was really, really important in this, so many sports have, well, especially baseball, has done so much to take away from the offense of the game. You know, with the pitching and everything else. This actually is going to help the offense. And so how is it going to help the offense? You know your strike zone. You know the strike zone. And now I'll use a player like Roman Anthony. He went through this. He's got a really good eye. And that's one of the things they say, you know, in the big leagues, it's always, you know, oh, well, this umpire, he's a pitcher's umpire. He calls the high strike. He calls the low strike. That has gone away. It is the strike zone. So this is going to help those players who have a really good eye at the plate and who know the strike zone. It is going to help them tremendously. This is a incredible way for baseball to make offense even greater in the game.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and again, it everybody's big concern was like, oh, it's going to delay the games. Actually, they take less than a minute, unless you're at Sloan Park,
Yeah.
and it was Rangers Cubs, the game you were referring to. I just pulled it up here, but yeah, it's the quickness, and I think letting the fans literally see exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be fair, umpiring is not an easy job. And you mentioned something when you were catching in some of the conversations. Did you ever get bounced when you were catching? Back in the days of black and white college baseball that you played, did you ever get bounced for arguing balls and strikes from a catcher position?
I never did. That was one of those things you always kind of wanted to have a really good rapport with them, and I enjoyed that part. I enjoyed working with them. I would go as far as at the beginning of the game. I mean, to ask the umpire, like I like the umpires that before the game would get right behind you, and as the pitch would come in, they would look at and I would ask him, is ball or strike? And he'd say strike. I'm like, okay. And just it was like a checks and balance kind of thing. So no, I mean I never did. I felt as though it gave me an advantage as a hitter as well. Because I kind of always felt that, if I stayed back there and, you don't show the umpire up, you talk to him, and even like when your manager's like, I got in more trouble from my manager blasting me, like, Mac, that pitch is a strike. It's got to be a strike. And he's like, it's not, Mac. Go and tell him. You know what I mean? Like he put me in. I'm like, listen, I got it. Just let me handle this. Don't screw up what I've worked for 8 innings to work with back here. So more so, my manager would get mad at me or my coach than the umpire.
Yeah, and I think that is a thing that a lot of people don't get, and that's why I love asking you these questions, because you were there and you played at the collegiate level, and there is a back and forth there from a catcher to umpire relationship, and we've seen that, and a lot of people, we go back a couple years ago in spring training to the famous like JT Realmuto, and then he pulls his hand away, and then the umpire's like, "You're showing me up, bro. You're out," and it's like on. It's ridiculous, and I think. Obviously, a couple positives that come out of it. Number one, it holds the umpires accountable, which is what everybody wants to see. We see them every year at this time of year. You get the guy who's got like the last seat in the 400 level, like, come on, Blue, that was a strike. But I wonder how many of the umpires are I don't want to say hating it. I think if you polled the umpires, most of them would say, A, because they want to keep their jobs, but B, like, hey, there is a human element to it, and it is. We saw one. I can't remember who the player was for the Giants, but it was in their first game at the Scottsdale Stadium, and there was a challenge, and it was by less than a tenth of an inch where this pitch missed, and the guy who called for the challenge got it right. So I think we need to keep that in mind as much as we're enjoying seeing umpires not having to reverse calls, getting told the calls are reversed. I think there's a lot of that, and I think as it progresses, the umpires, you would assume, are going to get better in this, and it's going to be a great thing. And you know me, I'm not going to sit here and say Rob Manfred and most of what he touches in baseball is a good thing, but I think this is a good thing with the momentum that baseball has going forward.
Yeah, and I think you're going to find out. It'll be interesting to see when it's all said and done at the end of the year. But I think you're going to find out that the umpires are pretty darn good. I think, again, I think they make and get most of those calls right. I mean, we always see one or two in a game. I mean, you're talking, realistically, I mean, in a game where a guy's making 200, 250, 260 calls, you're going to miss some. I mean, it's impossible not to. Just, I think this hopefully takes away those egregious ones, at the end of the game, and see what happens. But I so far so good. I love it. A great job for baseball so far.
Plenty of stuff to talk about tonight. Again, feel free to comment along if you're watching along. A couple of baseball notes to pass, and then we're going to have a debate that I know me and Mac are on the opposite sides of. This was hilarious to me. I love to celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day every year. It's a holiday for me. And Bobby Bonilla's contract kind of spearheaded everything for deferred payments. Well, this came out today from the Associated Press a little bit earlier this morning. Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez. Matt, do you know what you're going to be doing 13 years from today in 2039? Because I know what Verlander and Valdez are doing today.
Going to the bank.
From now.
Going to the bank.
They're going to the bank. Their final payments from their new contracts with the Detroit Tigers, so to speak, if you will, on Framber Valdez. $31 million deferred. And everybody busts the Dodgers balls for deferred payments. They're not the first team that did it. They weren't even close to the first team that did it.
No.
$31 million of Verlander and Valdez's new contracts of the $128 million they committed to the pitchers. Their final payments will be in the year 2039. So in ranking the top jobs that you could possibly have as they pertain to sports, a fired college coach, number one. A lawyer representing a college coach or college athlete, number two. Number three, a baseball pitcher that gets a deferred, Verlander's deal is only 1 year for $13 million, and the way they spread it out, he's still going to the bank in 2039. Max Scherzer is going to be paid by half the league until close to 2039. Pretty incredible stuff, but baseball's rules, as they currently state, at least for this year until our lockout happens, because it's going to, 2039, these guys are still getting paid.
The worst part is Bobby Bonilla is still going to be getting paid at that point. That's what's even more ridiculous.
It'd be pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can't get mad at teams for doing what's within the rules, and this is a way to give teams flexibility with their payroll, and it's a way for players to. Here's the bottom line. These players are taking care of their family and probably generations of their family. And again, you got to tip your cap to these players. That they're able to do that. It'd be great if we could all do that, get some of that money deferred, down the road. And
I need money now. I don't need it 20 years from now. I might be here then.
I know, but you get that signing bonus, But listen, congratulations to them. Good for them, and they'll meet each other in the bank in 20, 30 years, and go for it.
T and I talked about it last night on the program, Mac. The double gold for the U.S. women's hockey team, the U.S. men's hockey team, double golds against Canada, which makes it even sweeter. And now the Olympics are done. 2030, we wait. We could have 2030. We could have the Olympic gold medal game and the Super Bowl on the same day, which I think would be incredible. The World Baseball Classic is literally around the corner from us here, and I know you're jacked about it. I've shared my thoughts on it, maybe not in detail here. I want to get your take first on how the end of the Olympics went, the gold medal game. I know T was the one that was in the bar around everything. You and I took a little more subtle approach to it. But What did you think about how it finished, men's and women's side? What did you think overall about the hockey in the Olympics before we talk about something we're on opposite sides of?
Yeah. No, it was a tremendous end. We couldn't ask for a better way. The women's game, we got what we wanted. We got the two best teams playing for a gold medal. We got the same for the men, probably the two best teams playing for the gold medal. That's all you can ask. I didn't watch much of the women's one, but for the men's one, I caught that game about midway. I think actually the start of the second. I think I missed most of the first. And as I'm watching this game, and the U.S. is up 1-0. As I'm watching, I'm wondering, how are they up 1-0? Because I was having a hard time remembering in that second period when the United States could get the puck past center ice. It was just, I'm like, this is not going to end well. And then Canada had that 5-on-3, and I'm just like, oh gosh, we could be down 6-1 here, before you know it. But kudos to the U.S. Great defense. And that whole thing was started with a face-off win, and that set the tone. And that 5-on-3, they win the face-off, and it doesn't sound like a big thing, but it's a momentum setter. It's like, okay, here we go, guys, dig in. Absolutely tremendous game, up and down. That was fun. That was hockey. Like, you couldn't ask for better hockey. It was well played. You saw absolutely great defensive plays on both sides. Great offense. I texted you. I said, when it went to overtime, I said, well, this will be over in 2 minutes. I didn't, I just said, boom. But you just knew that somebody was going to score. And what a great goal. And I'll give kudos to everybody who's kind of put different videos together of overlapping stuff from the 1980s. Like I saw one, like the final 8 seconds when the U.S. won gold against Finland, and the final 8 seconds there, or both the men's and the women's. How those goals were so similar, so similar. I mean, just it was a lot of fun. So just and I got into a little back and forth with my wife on this. It's not a miracle on ice. It's nothing like 1980. It's great that we won. Let's. I mean, it's not the same. Let's just make sure we understand that.
I'm going to put this comment back up for two reasons here. One, it's a second rare appearance from TJ checking in when he's not on the show there. Number two, I just got excited here because I got a notification from one of my betting apps. On last night's show, T said that he felt sorry for the Utah Mammoth tonight because he thought Nathan McKinnon would score 38 goals tonight. So I got a notification from one particular betting site that my Colorado Avalanche bet paid. And I was like, what? The game literally just started. Technically, the game actually hasn't started yet. Nathan McKinnon, not that this is going to be a surprise for a lot of the guys, especially in the gold medal game, not being in action tonight. Right. I got my money back because Nathan McKinnon's not playing tonight in that game.
That's a safe bet.
Yeah, it brings me to this point, though. I know you're jacked about the World Baseball Classic, which gets underway here in less than a week. And we've seen a couple of things now about, and it's funny because we talked this up, not us, but in general, in baseball fan circles, it was talked up that the World Baseball Classic, which gets going literally a week from tomorrow, if I'm doing my math right, on March 5th. I can't believe it's going to be March already. That Tarek Skubal's basically making one start for the U.S. team, and then he's going away. And we found out today that it sounds like Logan Webb and Paul Skeens are going to make 2 starts. And the fact that Tarek Skubal is going to make 1 start and then hightail it back to Tigers camp, this is why I have a hard time taking this seriously. And I know we've talked about this, you and I have. Mm-hmm. You're excited about the World Baseball Classic. Tell me why before I tell you why I can't get into it.
Well, I'm going to first, as far as the pitching goes, I'm all right with that. Here's the thing. These guys are not built up yet. They're not ready to pitch in high-pressure situations. The last thing you want is Skubal to go out, make 2 or 3 starts, and, for the Detroit Tigers to, their season's over come, mid-April when he's down with an injury. So, I mean, as long as they, allow the rosters to expand, I'm all right with that. I mean, put as many pitches as you need. So why do I love this? Listen, anytime you can play for your country, and these other teams, the Dominican, Venezuela, go watch baseball in those places. It is baseball very good to me there. It is the best. That is their passion. It is no different, and we'll see it this year with the World Cup. The countries, these smaller countries that get represented in the World Cup, it is their passion. It is what they do. We just have too many. We have too many drinks, too many straws, and too many drinks in the United States. We're not real passionate really about, like, there you go, like the one thing. Like we have so many, but in these other countries it's just that one thing. And so, like in the Dominican, like I said, when I went there, that's like what we talked about. Like all we were talking about was baseball. Like that's what they're proud of. That's what they care about. And so when you care about it and it's number one on your bucket list, it makes all the difference in the world. That's why I like the WBC. It has that true passion in it. And again, it's not that the United States can't have that passion, because some of those guys do have it, but it's not in the United States. It's not our number one. It's not our passion. But that's why I love it so much. I love watching those countries, those guys playing for they do something great. The DR wins this thing. My gosh, those guys will go back to the island and just they're heroes for. I mean, they're heroes anyway, but they would truly be heroes for life.
So you're liking this not necessarily from the U.S. side. You're liking it from everybody else's side because of what it means to everybody else. Is what I'm getting here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like I said, not that we as the United States can't be passionate, but it's not our number one thing. Like I said, it's the same thing like in soccer. Like we'll watch. I mean, I'll watch the World Cup, right? I'm gonna watch soccer. I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna cheer for the United States. But it's not my. We win, great. We lose, okay. We lose. I'm not expecting to win. The DR, they're expecting to win. Cuba, they're expecting to win. Venezuela, Nicaragua, have that passion. They want to. They think they can win this, and they're putting everything on the line for this.
I don't like the schedule makers one bit because I'm looking at the exhibition games which start taking place Tuesday, March 3rd. You've got Colombia at the Pirates, and we can go through the list. Everybody gets games. Canada is playing Toronto in a tune-up game. That makes perfect sense. Italy playing the Cubs makes a lot of sense to me. Makes a lot of sense to me. Why the hell are the Giants the sacrificial lamb for Team USA? Like, we've got enough issues in San Francisco, and yes, I just dropped a rarity on this show. Yeah, the Giants have enough issues. We don't need to take on Team USA here. But here's my thing with it, and I do... Now that we've actually had this conversation for the first time, literally just had it on air here, I can understand where you're coming from. Here's my problem with it. If I'm going to see the U.S. team go out there and try and win this thing, and granted they probably could, I don't need to see an insert random fifth starter on junk team here in the championship game against Japan or against Cuba or the DR or whatever the case may be. I want to see the best of the best American baseball players, and I get it. You're not going to blow out Tarek Skubal's arm in freaking March. I understand conceptually what we're doing here, but let's just think outside the box for a little bit. Why was there so much momentum for a USA and Canada final in the Olympics? It was because of the Four Nations. And what did NHL do? What did Gary Bettman do? He said, our All-Star game is not going to be as cool as this Four Nations tournament. And to be fair, we didn't have the best Four Nations in that tournament, which is a lot of people's gripes here. I don't need to see this in March. Put this in July and put it in the middle of the baseball schedule. And I get it. The contrarians already out there, probably on their keyboards already, going, well, you want Tarek Skubal to blow out his arm in July? No, I don't. But I think the part of the reason, Mac, that I can't get into this as much as I was able to get into Olympic hockey, and you're on the opposite side, and I understand, is in March, when not everybody is geared up and not everybody is full swing, it doesn't do anything for me. Worst case scenario, when you're not going to run this up against the World Series, I understand that. But playing it in March, I have a hard time getting behind that. I'm going to throw this out here right now for Rob Manfred. Baseball has been added to the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. You know what? Save your All-Star game that year. Give me the best of the best American players in the Olympics against the rest of the world there, because you know the other countries are going to. The placement of the World Baseball Classic makes it very hard for me to be super excited about it.
I can understand that, like you said, because of the placement of it. I just can't see it in the middle. I can't see 2 weeks off in the middle of the baseball season in July. It's not going to work. I always thought the better alternative would be at the end of the year. That to me would make more sense, more so than at the beginning of the year. I mean, if you were going to do it. But it'll never happen. Baseball will never give up 2 weeks in July or 2 weeks in August for the Olympics. That just won't happen.
Maybe that's part of the problem here. But either way, the World Baseball Classic gets going on March 5th. And if I remember correctly, it actually ends on St. Patrick's Day, if I'm fully here. Let's refresh my page here. Way to be prepared for the show, Mike.
Well,
I think
and I
it's
was
the
gonna
5th
say,
to the 17th, if I
yeah,
remember, which
yeah,
is
I think that sounds
good
right.
timing because, as we know, the 18th is the beginning of March Madness, as some of our people have said on our social channels. Like, nobody's watching college basketball until the first 4 days of the turn. Yeah, you're wrong.
Whatever.
I get it. The placement of it is a little difficult for me to get behind it. But either way, we're there. We're almost there. Maybe that's exciting for you as a baseball fan to get going in the season. Let's look at the NFL here before we get into the nuts and bolts of tonight's show. A couple of headlines from the day, and not really a whole lot. Kyler Murray hasn't talked to the Cards. He's refuting any calls from Marty Ossenfort, the GM. Obviously, Kyler Murray wants out. The problem is Kyler Murray's contract, and who the hell wants that contract remains to be seen. Kirk Cousins released yesterday, and TJ brought up an interesting point last night, Mac, and I wanted to get kind of your take on this. A lot of people were wowed about Kirk Cousins and his TV appearances at the end of last year, and anybody that's followed Kirk Cousins' career, the dude's going to be great on TV. I still think the guy has some football left in him, and maybe not from an everyday starter standpoint. We know the Raiders are drafting Fernando Mendoza, #1 overall, and if they don't, we're going to have a lot more questions. I'm high on this Raiders team as far as how they're starting their process now. Obviously, they still need players. If you are a team, because I know this is something you've spoke out about a lot on this show, about not starting rookie quarterbacks right away. If you're a team with a young quarterback, maybe not even a rookie, maybe a second-year quarterback, do you bring Kirk Cousins in? Because I don't know if there's a better mentor in the NFL for a young quarterback about how to be a professional quarterback than Kirk Cousins. What do you think on what Kirk O'Chains has left in the tank?
I mean, I think it would be a perfect opportunity for the Raiders. I think this is exactly, what it would be. I mean, again, watching him, seeing how he prepares, watching how he attacks defenses. This is a perfect thing. The Raiders aren't. They're not contending next year. Let's be honest. That's not probably something they're going to do. Give your young quarterback a chance. I don't say completely shut him out, but let Cousins go. Let him play 8, 9, 10 games, and then let Mendoza come in and see what he can do after that. I think it's a perfect thing. Or if you're a team that has a veteran quarterback and you want to have that insurance. I mean, wouldn't Kansas City have liked to have Kirk Cousins last year? Like, I think those are the situations you have to look for somebody like Kirk Cousins, somebody, young, where he's definitely going to play, or he might just be at that point where, get him on a veteran team that has, a veteran quarterback, and he's there for the ultimate insurance policy.
Okay, so let me flip it back to the guy I originally brought up in the first place. You're the Arizona Cardinals. You know you're in kind of a gap here. You have a new coach. There's not a lot of depth at the quarterback position in the draft. You could go get a guy like Malik Willis, but if you're not sold that that's your long-term answer, you're not sold. Next year's draft class, as far as quarterbacks go, should be a lot better as far as what we can tell, at least on paper right now. If you're the Cardinals, do you look at a guy like Kirk Cousins and go, hey, we do have some talent at wide receiver. We've got one of the better tight ends in the league in Trey McBride. Is Kirk Cousins a good guy for a gap year position for a team like the Cardinals?
I mean, he is, but if I'm a Cardinals fan, to me it's kind of like you're just saying, well, we know we're not doing anything this year. It's kind of like giving up on the season. And again, I don't know that there's any other alternatives out there. Like you said, I mean, you're kind of stuck. You wouldn't be able to bring in Cousins and keep Murray. I mean, that just would not work. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I guess you would really be able to see, because we've had this debate. Murray never seemed to use certain players that he had, certain receivers that he certain have, and when he wasn't in there, they seemed like they were used more. So maybe you bring him in. Is it the system? Is it what they're doing, or is it the receivers? Maybe you get a better idea from that standpoint. I wouldn't love it. I mean, I'll say the same thing. Like from a Pittsburgh standpoint, like the whole Aaron Rodgers or Cousins. Like for me, like that wouldn't work. Like it's for me it's being in a hamster cage and just running the wheel again. I'm spending a lot of energy and I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. And as we get a little bit closer to March 9th when free agency begins, and obviously with the combine getting ready to get underway, we're hearing from a lot of GMs. John Lynch had some interesting comments about not only Brandon Ayuk, but the situation with the 49ers and Trent Williams. We're seeing a lot of these GMs make their first public comments as we transition into a new league year. So plenty of stuff there. Obviously, by the time we come back on next Tuesday, there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about as we get even closer to silly season. Last week at Riviera, what a finish we saw at Riviera on the PGA Tour as Jacob Bridgman is able to hold off Rory McIlroy and a couple others there. And we go to the Cognizant, and as soon as the show's over tonight, another edition of Mike versus Mac. We've flip-flopped through the first 3 weeks. Mac now has the lead again, 32-28 on me. What'd you think of the finish at Riviera? And we've talked about this, and as much as they want to make it a major, and they're treating it as a major, we're about 3 weeks away from the Players. So before and maybe this is strategic by me, I'll be honest here. Maybe I'm trying to see maybe who you're going to pick for it to take an advantage. What'd you think of Riviera? Because I thought with the weather and everything else, it was a pretty interesting tournament. Nice to see Bridgman win, but then the flip side of that, Mac, and I know you're a detractor of signature events, and yet another signature event at Riviera has ravaged the field starting this week at the Cognizant.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a great ending. I mean, you had a couple of guys that made some really, really good runs. Adam Scott made a good run at the end there. He plays that course really, really well. And Rory was right there at the end. I mean, it was a fun tournament to watch. It's a good course because again, as we said at the beginning of the week, it eliminates driver for a lot of those guys too. Because of the way that there is, but this is our job. We are for the people, and we talked about this the other day. It's kind of like we apparently have to take over every professional sport to fix it, and you can we know why they went to the signature events, but here's the downside of it. You get a week like this, and it's twofold. Not only is everybody you spent the first quarter of the first part of the year on the West Coast, California, Arizona. Now you're making that transition to the East Coast. So you have that. You're going to lose players in that part of it, just that transition. But now you've made basically all the better players play the last couple weeks. And why would I do this? Why would I play the last 2 weeks and now move my family, my things all the way across the country and get ready for the Florida swing and play at PGA West? It makes no sense. That's why, I know one of the things you want to ask, what was one of a good bet for this week?
PGA National.
Yeah,
you've done it and I've done it.
Yes. Oh, West. I said West. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, West is the tournament that needs to go. We're at PGA National in the Bear Trap.
National. Sorry, I was going to say.
I've done it too.
Yeah, the best bet of probably this tournament would have been. It already happened. How many WDs are going to be in this tournament?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, and it'll be interesting to see as we get a little bit closer to that. And again, we're 3 weeks away from that. This week at the Cognizant, we've got the Bear Trap, then we've got the Arnold Palmer, and then we're at Sawgrass. And that week at Sawgrass, we're expecting to hear some major things, at least from what we can read between the tea leaves, about what's going to happen as far as the upcoming PGA Tour schedule and going forward, which is something that Brian Rolap wants to nip in the bud, if you will, right away. Final thing here before we get into a little bit of college basketball. Have you seen what Rock Chalowski is doing for UCLA so far this season? We talked about Colton Connor Griffin at the beginning of the show from the Pirates. Chalowski is going to be that next guy that's worth every bit of the hype, at least if you're watching what's going on right now from him at UCLA. Like, this dude is murdering baseballs early in what's been kind of a crazy start to the college baseball season.
I love college baseball. It is the best college baseball games are the Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon games. in between those big weekend series, because you get teams, ranked teams, that are going to try to find that fourth and fifth starter that they put out there, and they lose a lot of games. They do. In fact, we just saw it the other day. UCLA lost the other day. And so that's what I love about college baseball. But Chicago White Sox, don't screw this up. Okay, listen, you had a nice offseason. Don't write it down right now. Type it in, whatever you need to do. Just submit it already. Tell them this is our pick.
Yeah, I mean, you would think they can't screw this up. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, it is early in the college baseball season. Make sure you check it out. If you haven't heard from them yet, not that certain sites that have 4 letters are doing very much to help the coverage of college baseball, at least early in the season here. But as you know, those are the day oneers that I was talking about on Friday that have followed the show. You know exactly what's going on. All right, Mac, we are at the college basketball portion of the program, and we've got a couple of things to get to tonight. I'm going to have generally the same Sweet 16. Top 16 seed conversation with you that I had with TJ last night to see your feelings on what was announced to us. We've got some interesting scores we'll pass along, but we cannot do that because there is the AP. There is the College Basketball Tournament Committee, and thank God, as I mentioned last night, for a committee that actually watches the games to seed the teams. What a concept, college football. We're in an interesting spot here, and before we can go any further, without any further ado, this week's edition of the Mike Arana Show's Mac 5 in college basketball. Lay it on me.
All right. So, again, before we go forward, we always want to take a look back to make sure we know where we have come from. Last week, we had Michigan #1, Duke, Houston, Arizona, and Illinois. And I'll tell you, a lot of the top teams kind of took it on the chin a little bit this week. And that's okay at this point of the year with conference play the way that it is. We don't mind. So where did our top 5 fall? I want to start at number 5 and talk about having a tough week. Houston, the Cougars, still in our top 5. They are at number 5. I got the Fighting Illini at number 4. Why? Well, they didn't lose. That's why. That's why they're in there. Number 3, I've got Arizona. Again, a tough week for Arizona. But listen, they did beat Houston, so that's why I have them in the number 3 spot. Number 2, Michigan. We all know about that battle they had with Duke. They just came up a little bit short. They've got another big game coming up this week. And of course, our number 1 team is going to be the Duke Blue Devils. The main reason, listen, you beat Michigan. You deserve to be number 1.
Absolutely. And before you get to this week's top 5, Mac, I mentioned this to T last night, and I wanted to get your take on this because there's some interesting stuff that's happened tonight, some interesting stuff that happened last night. Were you as impressed with Duke's bigs against Michigan as I was? Because they were fantastic.
Yeah, they really did. They took Michigan out of the game. That was, I had to look twice. No disrespect to the current coaching staff on Duke. That reminded me of a Mike Krzyzewski kind of game. That's what that reminded me of.
All right. And now, without further ado, the current Mac 5 in college basketball for this current week as we sit right.
All right. Here we go. This is what we got. At number 5, the Houston Cougars. Again, a tough week for them. But listen, this is still a very good team, and you're gonna show that not only in the NCAA tournament, they're gonna show that in their conference tournament as well. At number 4, we've got the Fighting Illini of Illinois. They deserve to be there. They had a great week. They didn't lose, unlike most of the other teams in the top 5. At number 3, it's going to be Arizona. Huge win over the Houston Cougars. This is a team that's built not only inside but outside. At number 2, it's the Michigan Wolverines, coming up just a little short. And our number 1 team this week, the Duke Blue Devils. Hey, you beat the best. You deserve to be number 1.
Oh my God, I just pulled a you for the first time in the show. There's your Mac 5 for the first time on the show in full form. You'll see that on our social channels as well. Mac, we've got some interesting scores tonight. TJ and I laid out some liquid locks for tonight's top 25 games.
Heard.
Happy to say that Florida did cover the 6.5 point spread at the Moody Center. in Austin, Texas, as they continue their roll. Alex Condon, 23 points and 4 blocks for the 7th-ranked Gators as they win 84-71. TJ did not get a cover with a team that he's very high on, but they played a team that I think is a little underrated, and this, coming from me, is a stretch. Georgia. And Mike White has a very good team at Georgia this year. Vanderbilt able to avenge their loss to Tennessee, who lost lost last night. They get a win 80-80. So right now, I'm 1-0, TJ's 0-1. I'm going to go to TJ's second one here. I'm pretty sure he got the cover as Nebraska beats Maryland 74-61. And while I did get a win tonight, I also took one hell of a loss because I watched St. John's on Saturday when I literally said this to one of our FOPs, our guy Billy V. I said, I don't think St. John's is 13 points better than anybody. And they dog-walked Creighton at the Garden on Saturday. Well, I thought maybe at plus 5.5, battle for the top of the Big East tonight. I know you're going to love this. At the mall, the People's Bank is the mall for correct purposes, right?
It is.
I'll just give you the second half score. We don't need to talk about the first half score. In the second half, UConn outscored St. John's 31-14. So they covered the 5.5 points in the second half. If you want to know the final score, it was worse than that. 72-40. And here's my thing, and the perfect question for you. My big concern with UConn when we get to the tournament, and this sounds, and I said this to T last night, this sounds insane to say, but it's a Dan Hurley team that I don't think is very good defensively. I haven't looked at the rest of the box score tonight, but top performers for St. John's, I don't even know who the hell this guy is with 7 points. 72-40. I think Danny and the boys were a little pissed tonight. UConn's defense concerns me going into the tournament, though, Mac.
Yeah, it has been a problem. And Hurley has admitted it. It's been a problem. He hasn't had their attention from a defensive standpoint. St. John's tonight, 11 of 56. Ugh. That's 20%. 5 of 20 from 3-point land. I watched UConn. I know. I watched UConn play against Villanova, who's still a pretty good team, on Saturday, and they suffocated this Villanova team. I was very curious to see what they were going to do tonight. I think he's got their attention. Let's just put it that way. I think Hurley has got their attention. I'll tell you, my biggest concern with this team, it sounds funny, is this team struggles breaking pressure. That's my biggest concern with UConn. They struggle breaking pressure. And they're going to get teams that are going to put some pressure on them, and they don't handle it very well. I think they're going to be okay. I think these last 2 games showed they're going to be okay. I think this is a case where this is a good team. I think they know it's a good team. I think they were able to dog walk a lot of people early in the year after their tough part of the schedule. I think they got a little complacent. I'm going to be honest. I think they got a little complacent, and I think Hurley went in and said, "Listen, we're a better team than this," and it showed the last couple of weeks. I said it. It went out on our social media on one of the videos. I'm going to keep saying it, ladies and gentlemen. Championship week. Find a place. Don't just have popcorn on call. Food, it's
you and T with the friggin' popcorn, man.
Yes, just have it. Just don't leave your couch. Just get a porta potty in the living room and don't leave your living room. Just go for it, man. It's that good.
That's disgusting. Terrace Reed tonight, fantastic for the Huskies. Yes. 20 points, 11 boards, and he pulled his best Wemby tonight, the senior center did, with 6 blocks against the Johnnies. In action right now. Jesus. See, and then there's always one of our FOPs that's got to take it to the next level there. We've gotten past, we just posted the last video about strawberries. Now we're into popcorn, you sons of bitches. In action right now, Portland and Gonzaga. Gonzaga trying to avenge. This still sounds stupid to even come out of my mouth. Portland trying to avenge their loss, or Gonzaga trying to avenge the loss to Portland. They're up 21-15. about halfway through the first. Alabama up 9 on Mississippi State. Arkansas and Texas A&M. That one's early. It's a 14-11 game now on a driving layup from Billy Richmond and an assist from Darius Acuff Jr. By the way, we've talked a lot about this freshman class in college basketball between, obviously Darren Peterson's getting a lot of the attention. We talked about Cam Boozer the other day. Darius Acuff is another one of those guys. Like, the freshman class is ridiculous this year. Absolutely ridiculous this year. And we've got another decent weekend. Nothing's going to live up to the hype of last weekend. And last weekend did live up to the hype. But obviously, as we get late in the year, we're getting late in the conference schedule. If you want to fast forward, and we're going to do that because we don't have shows past today this week. I said this to T last night. I am going to be more glued to the Colorado-Houston game on Saturday morning than I am to what is a great game between Virginia, who was the last team in that top 16 by the committee, against Duke at Cameron. But I think Colorado, if you want to literally watch in video form the definition of wrong place, wrong time, I think Houston's going to punt Colorado into the friggin' abyss Saturday when they get together. Other interesting games, Seton Hall and UConn. That's always an interesting one. It is at Gamble in Stores. 19-9 is Seton Hall this year. Louisville, who I am 1,000% out on. I know we watched them together that night before I headed back down the hill. I'm out on this Louisville team. They're too streaky. Vanderbilt and Kentucky, Kansas and Arizona from McHale, Texas Tech and Iowa State. Texas Tech's an interesting one, Mac, as we saw the committee in their first 16 rankings, and everybody's like, they're not a top 16 team. They lost JT Toppin. Well, what they've done since they lost JT Toppin is beat the living hell out of people. I'll be fair. They haven't played world beaters. I'm very interested to see what they do in a place that you and I are very fond of, in the Hilton Coliseum in Ames. That's a big game. Nebraska's out at the Galen Center in Los Angeles. BYU, who is now taking the slap in the face, the drubbing of the Big 12, and that's exactly where I'm taking us to. Also on Saturday night, Arkansas is at the O'Connell Center at the O-Dome to take on Florida. Gonzaga and St. Mary's from the University Credit Union Pavilion in Moraga. There will be a Ticket Wednesday tonight. Just because Mac was off on Tuesdays, we don't give him passes on ticket weeks. We got a lot of good games Saturday, but let's get into this Big 12 because it's kind of interesting. We talked about Arizona. They lost 2 consecutive games. I actually thought Houston was going to get them this weekend. And Mac, I'm going to say this to you because I said it to T, and I don't like this. I'm starting to get I'm scratching the shit out of my arms right now. This Arizona team is really kind of making me a believer, and I hate that. But if Anthony Del Orzo and Karchenkov play the way they are when they get Koa Pete back in the lineup healthy, with everything else they're doing, I kind of almost think this Arizona team might be the one to at least get them back to the Final Four this year. Please talk me off the ledge.
I'll tell you what, there was a 6-minute span in the game last night between Baylor and Arizona that was absolutely bonkers. Neither team could miss. My wife was going crazy. That was a good 6-minute span of a basketball game that I've seen in a long time. It's one of those things. I really do like this Arizona team as well. I like what they can do. I like their guard play. I like what they can do inside. They really showed early in the season. I mean, going to Gamble and winning in Gamble, all those games that they played in there. What's their weak spot? I guess that's what I would ask you. What do you think is Arizona's weak spot?
The month of March.
Okay. Well, if it's just here's what I'll tell you.
I hate that because you know what I'm doing? I'm projecting, based on past experience, and this is not. But it's just like we know.
Here's what I'll tell you. Let's do this. I'll say, don't worry about it right now. See what they do in the conference tournament. See how they react to actual tournament play. They sweep through the conference tournament, then I think they got a legit chance to get to the Final Four. I think that's a good indication.
You know what? I actually, that See, I feel a little better. See, the itches aren't as bad
Good.
right now. Like, I
I'm here
feel a
to
little
help.
bit better because that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. And I want to use BYU, site, source, site example here. And to be fair, no Richie Saunders. Like, I get it. BYU, when they entered Big 12 play, and we said the knock on BYU is they've played good against ranked teams, but they haven't beaten any. They're 8-7 in the Big 12. That's nothing to like. That's not a bad thing, because when they entered Big 12 play, they were 12-1. And I'm looking at the standings here in the Big 12, and this is the first time that we've seen any separation in the Big 12.
Right.
Damn it, you got Roz. Maybe that's the thing.
Maybe.
But we've seen this, and now for the first time in the Big 12 all year, Arizona in conference play is 13-2. They have a 2-game advantage over now second in the conference, Kansas, because you have Kansas, Iowa State, Houston, and Texas Tech all at 11-4 in conference. There's two things I want to get your take on here because I know how I feel about it. Number one, is the Big 12 being as good as they are a bad thing for these teams 3 weeks from now? Because these conference games, and Big 12 Monday is what we basically should call it now. Mm-hmm. The wear and tear here is a concern for me on all of these Big 12 teams when they get into the tournament. A lot of people would say battle tested, ready to go. I don't know if I'm necessarily on that side.
Oh man, you are going to make me show my age. Okay. This same
Are
argument.
you going back to the Big 8? You're really going to show your age if you do that.
No, I'm going back to the OG Big East. Okay. Georgetown, Villanova, St. John's. I mean, these were teams that like basketball obviously was different. But listen, you knew if you were undefeated coming into that conference, you were going to lose 3 or 4 games. And when you got to the tournament, that was kind of the thing. Like, you were battle tested. You had gone through, like, you're not going to face a tougher team than you faced in your conference. Going up against Ewing and Alonzo and everybody that Georgetown had and so on, and St. John, like in Syracuse. Yeah, we have to remember Syracuse was actually a basketball school and a good basketball school at that time. I always thought that gave the Big East an advantage. I really truly did. I thought when you go through and you actually play, because remember, when you're playing your conference opponents, you play them twice a year. You know them. You know the coaches. You know what they do. You know this. There's no surprises when you go there. I think conference play is a true testament to how good your team actually is. BYU. I really truly do. I think there's nothing wrong with playing in a really good, hard, tough conference. It prepares you. It makes you tougher. I think it truly does.
This is a hell of a point right here because I agree with this 1,000%.
Yes.
Everything in college sports is driven by college football. I need college basketball to go back to creating their own shit because the original Big East that you're referring to, the one that Syracuse was in when Syracuse was actually still good. That's what I would love to see coming back. But when I look at all these, and I do agree with you, and I mean, you knew I agreed with you because we talked about this last week. Conference championship week is freaking ridiculous. Like, everybody's in, according to some of our commenters on our social channels, everybody only watches college basketball for the first 4 days. Bullshit. Those of us that actually love college basketball, and there's more than don't, especially at this time of year, especially from 2 weeks ago when we really started ramping up our conversation about it. I think this Texas Tech team is still intriguing to me. And I know that I don't feel the same about them being a national championship contender without JT Toppin, but the night that it all went bad for Texas Tech was the game here in Tempe against Arizona State when they lost Toppin. And Christian Anderson, and we talk about all these young, great players in college basketball. He's another one of those guys. And Christian Anderson that night against Arizona State, he played like shit. And that's nicely putting it. And he would be the first one to tell you he played like shit that night. 7 turnovers, and even miraculously, Miraculously, at the end of that game, when he had a chance to get up the shot on a great pick play that Grant McCaslin called, and he just kind of fumbled the ball. And since we haven't had JT Toppin, what's Christian Anderson done? Well, they blasted Kansas State 172. I'm not saying that that's a big deal, but he had 21 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds. Then they beat a Cincinnati team just last night who's been playing great basketball for Wes Miller, 31, 11, and 7. If Christian Anderson can do that for Texas Tech, I still do think that they're a big factor. I don't have them in my national title list, but, you know, everybody wants to talk about the Big Ten because of Michigan and Illinois, and I know you're really high on that Illinois team, and for good reason. This Texas Tech team, even without JT Toppin, I think would probably be worst case third in the Big Ten. So the Big 12 teams, I think, are going to get a lot of love. But, Mac, the other thing we talked about in the top 16 seeds, and I mentioned this to TJ last night, I'm going to ask you the same question. We saw the top 4 seeds in the West. We know who they're going to be in order. It's going to be Arizona, Purdue, Gonzaga, and Michigan State. That's the only region in that top 16 reveal that hasn't had anybody lose yet. My God, is that region going to blow up how many brackets this year because of those top 4 teams? Right. What did you think of the top 16? Like, what did you see? Was there anything that you didn't like?
So as I went through, I think there were a couple of teams that I think could probably break into that. You wouldn't know it by tonight, but I think St. John's is one of them that could probably get in there. The other one that scares me a little bit, and they have not had a good year so far, has been Alabama. I think Alabama, you could see. As I went through there, I kind of went through and I said, okay, who do I like? Who do I don't like? Who do I trust? Who do I like? For instance, I'm with you. I don't trust Kansas. I kind of crossed them off my list. But there's a couple of teams. I know I told you I like Illinois, but there's one other team that I have a big curiosity for, and I'm going to be flat out with you and tell you that I have not watched them play, but just a smidgen this year.
Okay.
And their football team did the same thing, and that's the Miami Hurricanes. I know, but I've got to see this team. I've
just watch them 2 times, and we'll revisit that.
Okay, but I'm looking at scores. I'm looking what they've done. And I'm being truthful. I haven't watched them play very much, but I mean, they beat North Carolina, they beat NC State, they lost to Virginia by 3. I mean, and everyone's kind of on Virginia, so I don't have anything to kind of compare them to, but I'm curious. Let's just put it that way.
You know, and obviously saying Miami to a Florida fan, you're going to get a reaction, but you're not wrong. And I would say watch them because they're one of those teams, and you and I were watching Louisville play together and NC State. And they're kind of in the same on. They're really on. And Malik Renault has had a fantastic year for them. Trey Donaldson's been really good, as has Shelton Henderson. Miami, and this is what I see out of the ACC teams other than Duke and Virginia, which is, yeah, I said I'm more fascinated to watch Houston beat the living hell out of Colorado this weekend. But I am going to be watching that Duke. I'm a sicko. I was having this conversation with a friend today. Every single college basketball game that is on YouTube TV, it's on my DVR this year, like legitimately. I'm that kind of crazy. The Miami thing, I think they're going to the tournament for sure. They're 22-6. They're third in the ACC, right behind Virginia and Duke. My hesitation with them would be they're a little streaky at times. Alabama's another one that you brought up. They're up there. Our show term for the last 2 days, dog walking Mississippi State, 46-25 right now in that one in the first half. Arkansas, who is the other team that was in the 17-18 range, just out of that top 16, who has the big game at Florida this weekend. They're up early, 22-18 right now on Texas A&M. I think that's the fascinating thing. I mentioned this with TJ when we were doing Lunchtime Live last Thursday. Get on Ken Palm right now. And you're hearing all these new buzz terms. And I'm not pulling my pants down and squatting on them. But wob is another term you are going to hear over the next couple of weeks. And what wob is, not our guy, not our guy Worldwide Wob, who we love, Rob Perez on X, but wob is wins above bubble. And I think and I'm not going to give you the technical term for it, but if you want the general term for it, when we're looking at those teams that are all in that, should this team be in range or should they not? It's, let me take this team schedule and this other team that's a fringe team, how would they play against the same schedule? And I get the concept of it, but wob is the new term that we're going to hear going into this. It is what it is. Miami of Ohio, Mac, is still undefeated. They're another team that everybody's like, well, they haven't played anybody. They tried to play people. Nobody would play them. Mm-hmm. At this point, if you think Miami of Ohio at what are they, 28-0 now, if I'm remembering correctly?
Yeah.
If you don't think that's a tournament team and you think like the 7th place team in the SEC should go to the tournament, then you're one of those people that's like, oh, let's expand this to 85 teams. No. You're going to hear those buzzwords and you're going to hear those terms. Get on Ken Palm. Ken Palm has been, and it's free. That's the best part of it.
Yeah.
KenPalm.com. And look at it. Top 25 offensive efficiency, top 25 defensive efficiency. Those are teams that can win the national title. It's not a for sure thing. Ironically, your Yukon Huskies are the only team since Ken Palm started that didn't fit the metric there. Mm-hmm. This is the time. Oh, we only watch 4 weeks out of the year. Yeah, you're the guys that, while I'm sitting there sweating a bunch of bets, are telling me about your free office pool against Susie and Sally and the janitor that doesn't know anything about college basketball. Ken Palm. That's where you want to go. And yep. Saturdays, for the next couple of weeks, watch college basketball. It's easy. Making money's not easy in the tournament, but it's not. Is there one team in the 16 where they were placed? And obviously we're not talking about Duke and Michigan and Arizona and those teams. Was there a team from the 2 to 4 line in that graphic that we saw this weekend that you're really intrigued in? TJ's was Nebraska. And his reasoning, and he said it, I'm just not used to seeing them there at number 11. Is there a team in there that you're kind of vibing on how they've been playing recently?
I mean, the obvious one is Illinois. I mean, I still think they're really good, but I'll kind of step away from that one. I think I was surprised to see that Virginia was as low as they were at a number 4. I mean, to me, I thought they would be a little bit higher. Like, to me, I think Virginia's a better team than Purdue. I really do. I think they're. I'm not going to say they're better than UConn because I don't believe that, but I think they would. I think they're a better team than Purdue.
I would say that, and I think Purdue was also for me the one that I'm like, they're a good basketball team. I'm not trying to crap on Purdue. Like, they're a good basketball team. Are they the 8th best team in the country? I don't know. Because I think right now if you put Florida and Purdue tomorrow on a neutral court, Florida beats the living hell out of Purdue. Mm-hmm. And I think Florida is interesting, and a lot of people are going to go, well, yeah, of course you think Florida is interesting. I haven't shied away from this. You know this better than anybody. I don't know if Florida's got the guard play to win a national title this year, but Florida's bigs are damn sure good enough to get them into the Final Four, and then whatever happens from there. I think the Texas Tech thing is interesting. I also am kind of, with T on this, I really am digging this Vanderbilt team because it's Vanderbilt, and everybody's going, well, Diego Pavia football. This Vanderbilt team, not only offensively, but defensively, they're very, very good. So plenty of stuff to kind of keep your eye on and plenty of good games coming up. Again, we'll keep you updated if anything's of note tonight. I'm a little surprised, Mac, at Gonzaga, that they're only up 11 on Portland. Mm-hmm. And I'm very interested to go back and watch this game to see how this first half has started this way. Graham Ike's got 6 steals already. It's not even halftime. Talk about a big guy that does a lot of things that you're not expecting.
Yep. So, sometimes it's matchups, and we talk about. I just said this. It's conference. These teams know each other, and a lot better than when they go out and play even better teams. I mean, yeah, there's tape and whatnot, but there's nothing like actually physically seeing the teams play, and you know the tendencies of the coaches and whatnot. And just sometimes it's a matchup.
Yeah, it absolutely is. A couple of minutes left here, about 10 minutes left. Let's transition to the NBA real fast. A couple of great games going on that we kind of hit on last night. The Thunder and the Pistons from the Pizza Palace in Detroit. Pistons up 108-103 with 5:22 left in the fourth. Spurs in Toronto playing the Raptors. They're up 103-100, outscoring the Raptors 25-10 right now in the fourth. Nobody cares about the Sacramento freaking Kings. Obviously, the big one that's coming up, and we will be done. Conveniently timed for this, not just for Vegas Mac, because I want to see it. The Boston Celtics in Denver to take on the Nuggets tonight. As we talked about the 40-20 rule with Phil Jackson. Boston gets this win. They go back home, if I remember correctly, for the Nets, and they sweep a road trip that when we talked about it a week ago looked like it was going to be a little difficult. The MVP conversation is very interesting, Mac. And I've said this a couple of times, and I've had a couple of friends go, hey, I'm on it. I don't owe you any money if it doesn't work. But we've talked about the rules now to make all NBA, and you have to play so many games. Nikola Jokic, he can miss one game. Otherwise, he's disqualified from any postseason awards, all NBA, MVP, everything else. I'm trying to pull up the box score here if I can click the right damn thing. SGA for Oklahoma City. Not in the lineup tonight. He now has 5 games left that he can miss to be qualified. When you go to the MVP list after SGA and the Joker, it's Cade Cunningham, it's Victor Wembanyama, and I'm going to tell you right now, and I circled this on purpose, look at the date I made that bet, and look at the price, because he ain't plus 25,000 anymore. It's Jaylen Brown. And Mac, you and I have talked about this. We're not saying anything groundbreaking here. In the NFL, there's an MVP award and there's an Offensive Player of the Year award. In the NBA, we don't have that. But right now, if I'm looking at this, Cade Cunningham and Jaylen Brown, and depending on the finish to the season, Victor Wembanyama, to me, are the 3 most valuable players to their teams.
It's unfortunately, my comments will be completely biased, and I don't really care. For me, Jaylen Brown's the MVP. What he has done, he is a physical force.
Not arguing with you.
Yeah, there you go. He is a physical force on not only on defense, on offense. He takes the ball to the basket with such authority, and he had that. Remember the last time they played San Antonio, where the Celtics didn't have any free throws in the entire game, and he kind of called out the NBA and the refs, like, how can that even be possible? Well, we haven't had that instance since. He's getting the calls. He's that kind of player. He's a completely different player, and he's. I mean, nobody wanted Tatum to get hurt, obviously, but this has been a great year for Brown, because I think he'll never come out and say it, but he's always kind of played that secondary role to Jason Tatum. And you have to understand that this is a guy that was, one of the top picks in his draft class. I mean, he's that good. And I don't think people realize, and I'll be honest, even as a Celtics fan, realize, how really good he is. This has been a tremendous year for Jaylen Brown. He does it all. He does it on the defensive end. He does it on the offensive end. He's a good passer. He can rebound. He deserves the MVP.
He absolutely does. And tonight's fascinating if you're a guy that likes to dabble in triple-double markets. Jaylen Brown, 29.2 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, 4.9 assists. Jaylen Brown is not a typical triple-double type contender. He did drop one last week. I don't remember who they were playing. It's slipping my mind right now. But if you were to go in tonight and you wanted a double triple-double in this game between Jokic and Brown, it's a plus 4,000 on the site I'm looking at here. Obviously, what Nikola Jokic is doing, and part of me hates the new NBA rules. Part of me hates the fact that we have to penalize guys for being legitimately injured. Not you, Utah. Not deviated septums and everything else. But Jokic is looking at being one of the first. I think he would be if I. No, I know he would be because I saw this. The first guy ever to lead the league in rebounds and assists. Like, this dude, if anybody debates who the best basketball player in the world is right now, I don't know what you're watching because it's Nikola Jokic. Again, that game coming up here at the top of the hour. A lot of stuff going on in the NBA. The Suns, too, Mac. I wanted to talk to you about the Suns for a couple minutes here. They're going to be without Dillon Brooks for 4 to 6 weeks, broken hand. And if anybody is not going to give Dillon Brooks credit, it's going to be me. There's a lot of history there.
Right.
Dillon Brooks is the reason that the Suns, to me, have been as good as they are. Without him, they're without Devin Booker, who's dealing with a little bit of hip injury. Jalen Green missed a lot of time to start the year. Tomorrow night, they actually host the Lakers at the Mortgage Matchup Center in Phoenix, Arizona. The Suns team, I hate this Dillon Brooks injury thing because they're a team that I think can actually, be competitive in the playoffs. It's funny to say that after what they did in the third quarter against Boston last night,
right.
But they didn't have their normal. When we look at this, I think J.B. Bickerstaff, Coach of the Year, hands down. To me, there's no argument. I think Joe Mazzulla is the only guy you can make an argument for. But I also think Jordan Ott in the Suns team has been kind of the most impressive thing to me this year.
I think what Brooks has brought to the Suns is what they've been missing, and I think we've said it all along without really saying it. The Suns have been soft. The Suns have been a soft team, and he brings that edge to the Suns, and I think that's something that they needed. This has been a Suns team that's just let's just be honest. That's how I think of them, as a soft team, offensively soft, defensively soft, and he's brought a toughness to them that they've needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And, looking at tomorrow night, just off the top, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura for the Lakers game time decisions, Cole Anthony, Jordan Goodwin, Dillon Brooks, newly acquired Haywood Highsmith, which I think is a great add for the Suns, and Devin Booker all out tomorrow night as they play the Lakers. If you're looking for a betting angle right now, the Lakers 4.5-point favorites on the road in Phoenix. Detroit's up 115-107 on Oklahoma City with 2:37 left in the fourth. That San Antonio-Toronto game coming down the wire, 108-106 with 20 seconds left in that one. Again, Boston and Denver coming up at the top of the hour here. Last night, Mac, T and I made we got to reset our NHL picks, Stanley Cup final. You remember this from a couple weeks ago. T went with the Tampa Bay Colorado final. I actually went with Minnesota and Carolina. And before we get into the Mac 5 rankings for hockey, also known as the 5-hole here, I want to give you a chance to kind of drop your Stanley Cup final reset pick. Feel free to jump on the Carolina train with me if you want. What do you like at the halfway point here? Or 2/3 point?
Well, I saw that was part of my homework, so I took it one step further for you. I came up with an Eastern Conference and Western Conference final. Are you ready?
Mac, the overachiever on this program.
That's right. I had a little extra time at lunch today, and I put it all to you, Mike. My Eastern Conference final would be Tampa Bay and Carolina. My Western Conference final, see if you've heard this one before, Colorado and Dallas.
What?
And
as long as they don't have to play in the damn first round, Bettman.
That's
Fix
right.
that.
Exactly. I'm on the train. In fact, I'm driving the engine. I got Carolina and Colorado. I think that would be an absolute bizarro, just amazing Stanley Cup. I've watched them play 3 times this year. My only thing is this: it won't happen. It happened once when they were in Colorado. They wore those stupid Nordique uniforms and the Whalers uniforms. But wouldn't that be great? Think about it. I'm setting it up. Tell me this would not be great. Game 7, doesn't matter where it is. Quebec Nordiques and Hartford Whaler uniforms. Come on, would you not be extra glued to your seat?
I'm all for it. I'd be extra good to see because it's Game 7 and there's nothing better than the hockey playoffs, period. But yes, that would add a little oomph to it, if you will.
Gosh, that would be so great.
Before we get to the Mac 5, the 5-hole as you know it on the show channels. Games of note tonight. Tampa Bay up 3-0 on Toronto. Braden Point with a goal. Goncalves with the goal. Nikita Kucherov with goal number 30. Dallas up 4-0 on Seattle, who is in a playoff position right now. Wyatt Johnston has lit the lamp twice. Matt Duchene also with a goal there. And Colorado and Utah, no score. We've got the Jets and Canucks, Knights and Kings, Oilers and Ducks, finally in the mix. One of the teams we were talking about, Mac, about how this whole Olympic break would affect people. Buffalo comes out, goal by Tage Thompson and Krebs tonight. They get the win 2-1 over the Devils, and nobody really gives a shit about the Flyers and Capitals. All right, the 5-hole for the first time on the show. If you followed us on our social channels, you know what the deal is. I'm going to give Mac the stage here as we start the 2/3 half of the season. Mm-hmm. The updated NHL ranks Vegas Max 5-hole.
Here we go. The post-Olympic hole. That's what we're looking at. And listen, who are the hot teams? Who had the hot hole going into the Olympic break? Pretty simple. Oh, my gosh. You didn't expect the hot hole, did you? Oh, my gosh. That's right. The hot hole. That's where we are. We've got Columbus. 7 wins going into the break. We have to know. They go and they're going to play Boston in their first one at the season. They keep that going. Who else is in the hot hole? The team I just talked about, Dallas, 6 wins going into the break. Minnesota, 5 wins going into the break. Tampa Bay also with 5. And listen, Tampa Bay, talk about getting a bad draw. They have to play not only Toronto tonight, but then they have to go and play Carolina, who is also part of that hot hole at number 5 in our rankings. Now listen, if it's hot, it's hot. But you know what? If it's cold, it's cold. And some teams were in a cold hole, kind of going into the post of in the Olympic break. And who were those? San Jose, 4 losses going into that hole.
Shut your mouth.
I know. St. Louis, the Kings of New Jersey, along with the Rangers. And the Rangers, they get the worst draw of the cold hole because they have to go home and play. And we know that has not been good for the Rangers. So that's how we're looking. Post-Olympic, hot hole, cold hole, it's how you like it.
I don't want to comment on it because I think it's dangerous either way I go. You know, it was funny. I brought this up to T last night. The people that tuned on hockey in the Olympics for the first time, they're like, you know what? I'm not waiting 4 more years to watch hockey. What the hell is going on in this Vancouver Canucks game? Not the best way to promote or a New York Rangers home game. Not the best way to promote that. All right. Last night we did Liquid Locks. I did Liquid Taco Bell with the pick of St. John's at UConn. I did get the floor to cover. Let's do a couple Liquid Locks as we get up on out of here before the Celtics and the Nuggets start. And I know we're fine because ESPN doesn't know how to schedule games out appropriately. Mike versus Mac coming out literally in minutes here on our social channels, our head-to-head competition. For those of you new to us, welcome. This is a wild train ride. We talk about grocery lists and everything else. Thank you for being here, and feel free to tell your friends. Smash, follow, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Mike versus Mac is our contest every week. We've broken up the PGA Tour's schedule into segments, typically based around the Masters. We didn't redo it this year. We're going to redo it next year, but essentially, Mac and I pick a long shot, which is somebody usually around a plus 3,500 or higher, a top 10 pick, and a winner pick. We accumulate points in a 6-to-1 system. They're doubled during majors. If you've got a guy that misses the cut, you lose a point. You lose 2 in a major. If you get a win, you double the win points from 6 to 12. We can only use guys, because I've gotten a couple of why would you pick this guy? We can only use guys once per segment, so you got to be strategic. I cannot use Scotty Scheffler until the first week after the Masters to give you an idea of where we're at. So we're in a flip-flop battle. It's 32-28 Mac. But as far as Liquid Locks go tonight, I wanted to ask, I've got one that I love. Again, our Mike versus Mac will be up here in literally within the next 10 minutes. Do you have a first-round leader, a head-to-head matchup, a top 10, a top 20? Give me a liquid lock or two from the Cognizant. If you need a roster, I can't pull it up in time on the sheet for you, but it's a who's who of who in the hell are you is kind of where I'm going.
I got two, and I'll go with kind of a leader at the halfway point, and that's Christian Bezadenhout, who I like. I also, if you can get it, I love if you can get this prop. I don't know if you can, but this is a course. 15 of the 18 holes have water on them. Okay, 32.
Victor Hovland's gonna love that because he already has the floaties.
Yep, 32. Last time I was at 32 balls in the water. I'm going with the under 32 in the water this time.
You can actually get that. I'm not going to give the site credit because they don't pay our bills, but you can get that. And that's a fun one this week.
That's a fun, I mean, for this week, that's a fun prop to kind of look at. Something a little bit different.
I'm staying off the first-round leader market this week, partially because literally, like, half the field is guys that even avid golfers don't even really know who they are. My favorite bet this week, because it's kind of a home game for this dude, Luke Clanton. He's played a lot of rounds on this golf course. And Luke Clanton last year was really kind of coming on and really making waves. And then all of a sudden he kind of got the yips when it came to the short game, especially around the green and stuff. I think the talent that he has and being on his home course here, I love Luke Clanton this week, and I've laddered him to make the cut, a top 40, a top 20. My favorite bet, assuming the home course advantage helps him here, is Luke Clanton is a plus 750 to finish in the top 10, and that's top 10 and ties. So I like Luke Clanton there. Any final words from you on what is our go-home show for the whole show this week on this Wednesday night?
I have a couple of things for you. Number one, would you like to take a guess at the most expensive ticket?
Oh, yes, Ticket Wednesday. See, yes. It's Wednesday. I forgot.
You did. Would you like to take a guess? We come on.
Is this going to go the way it went last week?
Oh, I think this is a step up.
Oh, Jesus. No, I don't want to guess. You fire away. This is your baby. You run with it.
I looked. Usually we go for the cheapies, right? And there's a couple of good ones. You can go to practically any Big East game, it seems like, for under $10. Let's just kind of put it that way. I had Georgetown, Xavier, PC at Creighton. Here's an interesting one, though. $4, Mike. How about this one? Oklahoma at LSU for $4. I thought that was a pretty good deal. Flip it to the other side. We know Virginia and Duke, right? $770. We know that one was going to be good. Arkansas, Florida, $262. But here's the most expensive ticket. When I looked at it on Monday, it was at $1,330. It's down to $1,197. Are you ready for this one?
Okay.
General admission, by the way. Not even a seat, just GA. Bethune-Cookman at Southern.
What day of the week are we talking about here?
Saturday. You busy?
Yeah. Way busier than that shit.
Can you believe that? General admission. I don't even get a seat for that.
Where the hell are they playing the damn game, though?
On Mars? That's part of your flight?
Oh my God. How much?
Monday it was at $1,330. Apparently they're not going. When I checked last, it was at $1,197.
Oh, it's at $1,180 right now. What the?
At the F.G. Clark Center in Baton Rouge.
Well, if I remember correctly, that is Southern's home arena. All right, here, me and Matt go into the. That's why. Because there's not very many. It's still, though, 1,200. What are we doing?
Right.
Why? You want to
all right.
update everybody as to where the sitting next to the band ticket ended up last week for USF in Santa Clara that I had to point out to you guys where it was?
I sent that to you. They actually, that one went away, and there were 2 tickets that you could have gotten for like $600, like in the section over whatever is next to the Johnson section. So,
you know what? With the way the show goes,
goodness.
sometimes I'm not gonna comment on what's next to the Johnson section. Now, what do you have for your final off?
My final thing, Mike, you know what time it is. We're turning left, my friend. We're turning left. Last week, I had Austin Cindric. Listen to this. He won the first stage. I'm thinking, we got this. Not only that, Mike, he had the lead with 30 laps to go. I'm thinking, I've got this. Of course, it didn't happen. This week, we're heading out to Austin, Texas, the Duramax Grand Prix. It is the first road course race of the season, which is always very, very interesting. My pick for this week, I don't even remember who is my pick for this week.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh, I didn't write down my pick. Give me a second.
You're not going to talk about your boy going back-to-back last week? Boom, you didn't think I knew that, did you?
Yeah, no, you know what? And Jen was really upset because she wanted to pick, and she's like, there's no way that he's going to go back-to-back. I wrote everything down but who my pick is, so, give him kind of William Byron, that's who it is. How could I forget that? William
how
Byron.
Could you forget?
Yeah.
Did you turn right? You got lost?
No, well, hey, listen. Remember, this is a road course. And so they don't just go left this week; they go left and right this week. There's some turns in there. It's a little bit different. So
William said road course this week, so I can not watch.
Austin, Texas.
It's more
Deep in the heart of Texas.
More entertaining than watching freaking Sean Miller coach basketball. Again, follow us for the rest of the week on our social channels. Plenty of stuff coming up. We'll be back in full force next week, Tuesday and Wednesday night, Thursday and Friday in the daytime for Lunchtime Live. We're getting you ramped up for the beginning of baseball season, our baseball preview show coming up. And, of course, we're going to be dialed into college basketball. Again, follow us on all the social channels at Mike Arana Show. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, coming up on our channels, Mike versus Mac in literal minutes. Other than that, enjoy another great weekend of sports. You know the drill. We're out.